Also, as EU citizens are really at the center of our policies, a wide variety of mobility option has to be at their disposal to satisfy their mobility needs. The Pan-European Mobility Week, which was launched, its motto is really do the right mix, and it's a campaign that promotes awareness on multimodality and encourages people to, quote, choose, change, and combine. So, in other words, look at alternative means for a better transport future in our towns and cities. Finally, also in addition, we have cleaner alternative fuel vehicles. At least we believe, together with more walking, cycling, and public collective transport, can be part of the solution in the cities. Cities are therefore encouraged to integrate electromobility in their sustainable urban mobility plans, which they submit to us, to achieve better benefits in terms of air quality and contribute to the 2020 and 2030 climate and energy goals. Urban logistics and public transport can benefit from also electrification technologies. Also, we have an initiative which is the Civitas and the Smart Cities Initiative, and through this, the Commission supports cities in testing new technologies and innovative concepts in order to enable a more sustainable urban transport and to incorporate local strategy into that. And this is always with the citizen in order to enable better services for the citizens. Finally, we're also contributing to the external dimension of EU transport policies through the EU-China urbanization partnership. So I hope this has provided a brief overview of some of the activities we're undertaking in this area, and looking forward to further discussion. I pass the floor to colleagues.
Good day, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to present the work that we are doing on cooperative ITS in general, and more specifically one of our projects, Compass4D. So the first question is who we are. We are a representative of, as Yang Ying was mentioning, different professional fleets. IRU Projects in itself is a Belgian entity working closely with the International Road Transport Union and its members in more than 100 countries globally, as you can see on the picture. We are basically working towards increased road safety, transport efficiency, security, reduced environmental impact, and all further improvements of the road transport and multimodal efficiency. As already mentioned, we are representing interests of buses, coaches, taxi and truck fleets in collaborative projects. Some of those projects are with European, supported by European Commission. Some are outside Europe and supported by, for example, World Bank and the other bodies. Now, looking at cooperative ITS and its users, well, basically we see cooperative ITS as simple as cooperation between stakeholders. It is not, the primary goal is not technology, the primary goal is just speaking with each other and getting agreements on what needs to be done by different stakeholders. Now, all of this in cooperative ITS is supported by technology. So the technology is not the goal, but the means to enable fruitful cooperation between stakeholders. We have been doing pilot projects and different type of projects for a number of years, and we see that where there is willingness between stakeholders to cooperate, the technology will be able to support that cooperation very nicely. But the willingness to cooperate is the primary, let's say, the driving force behind all of this. Now, looking at the users in different activities, and especially in Compass4D, we have basically all different vehicle fleets, from private drivers to taxis as an example, we have around 200 taxis in Thessaloniki. We have close to 100 buses in Copenhagen. We have a couple of dozens of trucks driving across Europe, piloting the systems. And we also have ambulances, fire brigades, etc. So what we are doing in the project Compass4D is to try to show how does this technology support all different categories of vehicles and their drivers. Our general policy on ITS for any ITS system, which also includes the cooperative ITS, is that number one, it has to provide benefits. We have to have measurable safety or let's say security or energy efficiency benefits. And those benefits need to be bigger than investments. Otherwise, for any type of ITS or any other solutions, it's not worth investing in it if the costs are bigger than the outcomes. The solutions must be standardized, harmonized, and interoperable. Thanks to Compass4D, but also many other activities, co-funded activities, standardization activities, cooperative ITS platform run by the European Commission. All of these are contributing really to ensure that we are aiming towards one set of standards that is harmonized and interoperable. So we are on a good way there. For all of the ITS, we would like to see these to the widest extent possible to be applied on a voluntary basis. As mentioned, to the widest extent possible. Some ITS potentially in the future could be obligatory. We are not against that, but largest amount needs to be voluntary. And of course, we would like to break away from the situation where cities or fleet operators are investing in systems that have to be, let's say, maintained and in the future also replaced by a certain manufacturer. So we want to break the vendor lock-in and to be able to choose the suppliers, which is also going to benefit the overall market. One topic that is very close to the logistics efficiency is that we also would like to see all of these ITS systems, where possible and needed, coupled with use of electronic transport documents. We, for example, see the CMR paper versions. This is a legal document for transport across borders in Europe and many other parts of the world. It is highly used in its paper form. However, currently its usage in electronic format is very low. So this has to be really enabled and pushed, and also connected with all the other intelligent transport systems where needed. Last but very important, all of these systems need to ensure confidentiality of private and commercial data. So whenever we start looking into any type of ITS solution, we start looking from these points of view and saying, well, if it ticks all of our boxes, we are absolutely going to support it and promote it towards our colleagues, fleet operators. Now, in Compass4D, we have just over 1,000 drivers that are driving with the systems across Europe or in their cities. We are doing a lot of objective and subjective measurements. Today I'm going to present preliminary results from some of the subjective feedbacks from fleet operators in Thessaloniki, one of our pilot locations. In addition to these results, there will be many, many more outcomes and conclusions before the end of the project, which is by the end of this year. So today I'm going to present you preliminary outcomes. Now, considering the subjective opinion, we have used the widely recognized system usability scale, so to say, when developing our questionnaires that has 10 specific questions on everything from complexity of the systems to usability, into how much confidence it gives to drivers, etc. Based on those questionnaires, we have collected inputs. This is just the background information from Thessaloniki. We have collected inputs from drivers. So you can see some statistics about drivers, very few females. Driving frequency is at least once per day, and most of the drivers are driving more than 50,000 kilometers per year. Now, looking at concrete preliminary results, we can see that that results overall are positive. We have, for example, on the technical support, we see that 37% of the drivers indicate that they will not need technical support in their work. On the other side, we also see that there's quite a bit of the other drivers which most likely will need support. Why? Very simple, because we are finding a way to pilot these new ITS systems. We are learning also how to, let's say, educate drivers in the best way. We try to make it as intuitive as possible to use these systems. But since this is still pilot equipment, we probably have not reached a maturity that that is, let's say, allowing drivers to just use the equipment and start using it without any support. Now, the very positive from the pilot point of view is that 43% of the drivers are seeing fully agree with the statement that the Compass4D system is completed. Now, from our side, we know that it is not completed. It is very, very good, mature system, but there is still a number of things that we can learn from the pilot and further improve. And also a very good statement is that there's very little inconsistencies in the system. Still, of course, there are some improvements to be made. I will not comment the last one, but it is that Compass4D system is responsive and working fast. Now, what is very interesting and that I would like to highlight is that Compass4D system overall is useful. This is seen by 79% of the drivers, so that is very positive. And they would like to continue using the system even after the end of the project and further use it in their operation. So here we see that 100% of drivers either agree or totally agree. Even though we know that, like in every pilot operation, there have been some technical issues, there have been some bugs, still the feedback is very positive towards the usage. Most of drivers feel that system is not unnecessarily complex and it is easy to use. Again, it is not difficult to use and most of the drivers are using it without any problems. Now, when it comes to training needs, majority does not feel that there's a need for drivers to have training, but still we need to pay attention into how we communicate, maybe not through training, but through other means of how to use the system in the best way. So this is an overall look into the Compass4D system, let's say, which is which holds 3 different services. We will hear a little bit more about them from my colleague Gert Bloom after me. But if you look at user acceptance of one of the specific applications, energy efficient signalized intersection, this is basically a system where a vehicle is approaching an intersection and traffic light is communicated back to the vehicle when the traffic signal is going to shift from red to green, as an example, and in some cases also provides priority for certain types of vehicles. Now, usage of the system, well, everybody said that they are using the system without problem in most of the cases. System also is not providing any shortened queuing in junctions. And they liked very much the energy efficient signalized junction system compared to the other 2, which is red light violation warning and road hazard warning. So we're also going much more into detail on each specific service, asking basically the same question as we did for the overall system. Now, these are the preliminary results. from these services in Thessaloniki. The same outcomes we are going to receive from other 6 pilot sites, drivers of different fleets. So we are dealing with a huge amount of data, and this is only on the subjective side. On the objective side, there's even more data on how much fuel we have saved by using the system, etc., which is absolutely crucial for fleet operators to make a decision should they invest in the systems or not. Again, coming back to answering the benefits versus costs. On general remarks, as mentioned, it is, while drivers like the system, most of them, we see that there's an absolutely clear need for fleet operators to get more information about the increased operational costs, reduced time, fuel, emissions. This will help them decide on yes or no to go with the investments. We also see from the objective data, so from fuel and emission measurements, is that we preliminarily see benefits for larger vehicles with substantial reduction seen for trucks and buses across the different sites. All of this is, again, preliminary, and once the evaluations conclude, we are going to come out with concrete figures. And preliminary results also indicate that there are differences on user acceptance between pilot sites and between the services. Generally, the energy efficient intersection is the most liked one amongst the 3 piloted services, let's say, across all of the sites. But it depends very much also on the fleet, on the driver type, if it's a private driver, professional, etc., etc. So there will be many more flavors to this picture that we are presenting today. Now, what is remaining before the end of the project? What are the next steps? Basically, we are going to continue collecting final data and continue preparing the final project results, where user acceptance is one of the important points. We are working on ensuring after project life, and I hope that Gert will tell us a little bit about that either today in the webinar or at ITS World Congress next week, where there will be some interesting announcements. And we basically don't see this as the end of the project. We see this as a platform where we can continue cooperation with all interested stakeholders. Already during the project, we have had a lot of external stakeholders, non-project partners, working with us on these solutions. The discussion is absolutely going to continue for the next coming 4 months that are remaining of the project, but also beyond the project. And I would like to welcome all of you to join discussions and to also hand over to my colleague Gert Bloom, who is going to present a little bit more about Compass4D and where we are heading.
Good morning, all. I would like to start with a kind of disclaimer. If you expecting some kind of groundbreaking theories on CITS deployment, I think it's better to continue with your meetings or WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever. The only thing I can share with you is some experience from a small city with CITS deployment. And my statement is CITS is not something only for larger cities. It could also be very beneficial for smaller cities like the city of Helmond. I can't hear you asking, but I can imagine you are asking where is Helmond? Well, Helmond is a very small city in the southeast of the Netherlands. It's very near to the city of Eindhoven. Maybe some of you know the city of Eindhoven. Well, city of Helmond is very near to it, but of course a far better place to live in. And it's part of the Brainport region. It's called the Brainport region because we are very a well-known economic cluster in the Netherlands, especially on high-tech industry like Philips, NXP, TomTom, these kind of companies. Our involvement as a city with CITS starts, in fact, from a very practical point of view. If you look at the map of the city of Helmond, it's a small city, but we do have some problems on mobility. It's that there's a main road going through the city of Helmond, really to the city center, and it's a city with it's a road with about 40,000 vehicles every day, and about 3,000 heavy good vehicles. I think I can spot even some Volkswagens there if you look there. Sorry for this. And this was our first involvement in CITS. We were thinking about mobility solutions for this problem. Of course, the first option could be to have new road infrastructure. We were thinking about having a large tunnel underneath this road. Well, I'm now in Brussels, and maybe people who know Brussels could imagine tunnels is not always a very good idea. And simply we did not have the money, we did not have the time to invest in new road infrastructure. And this also in our mobility policy, investment in new road infrastructure is not longer the first option. The first option should always be optimizing the use of existing infrastructure. For example, we invest in a traffic lights network system, and we increased the capacity of our roads with 20%. Of course, only a fraction of the cost of new road infrastructure or new tunnels. We also decided that we were looking for to cooperate with the automotive industry for solutions. We were very much looking to work together with the automotive industry to find technology-driven solutions, what we called at that time ITS solutions, smart mobility. And it was an important decision from our city council, I think, it's that we're not waiting for the market to come up with solutions, but we're going to actively support smart mobility pilots, showcases and development. And I think this was a very important decision of our city council. And the supporting of smart mobility showcase is, for example, what we're doing sometimes is silly things like closing roads. As a road authority, you're normally here on earth to manage the traffic, to have smooth traffic flows. What we did in the past is sometimes closing roads for testing purposes. So we are offering our roads as a kind of living lab for testing. Another way of supporting this kind of smart mobility pilot showcase and research and development is participating in projects, participating as a city in projects. One of the projects is Freelot. The objective of Freelot was to reduce fuel and emissions on heavy good vehicles in urban areas. And going back to one of the first slides, if you see the problem in Helmond, this main road with a lot of heavy good vehicles, this was just a project really fitted to our needs. What we did in Helmond is in fact we installed some roadside units on the traffic lights, and we equipped the trucks of a local transport company with onboard units. And in fact there were two different applications. One is giving them priority at intersection, an intermediate level of priority at intersections. We're using also the same application for our emergency vehicles, and they're getting absolute priority at intersections. And another application is speed advice and time to green advice. From a technology point of view, we proved that the technology did work, but that was not the groundbreaking news. I think the real message was in what is there in red. It's a 13% fuel consumption savings, and 13% savings in fuel consumption is also 13% less CO2. But it's also making a business case, and referring to the former speaker, my colleague Zelko, this is of course what it's all about for his members, of the IRU members, to have a business case. If you have 13% fuel savings on trucks, this could be the difference between writing black or red figures at the end of the year. For us it was not just a project. What we did after the project is first of all continuation of the services. Why should we stop the services after the project phase if we can use the services? So we're still using it for our emergency vehicles, we're still using it for transport companies. We also upgraded our roadside units from pre-production to production version, and we extended the installed road network to our city ring road. Not only this main road, but also the city ring road. The next step, of course, for us is to get more users, but also more cities. For me, ITS, it's all about upscaling in this phase now. This was also the reason for the City of Helmond to be involved in the Compass4D, Compass Deployment project, with over 600 vehicles, over 1,200 drivers. It's not only about energy efficiency, it's also about road safety with a road hazard warning application and red light violation warning. So it's two aspects. It's more sustainable ways of transport, but also safer ways of transport. We have some very preliminary results now, but we will have some more results next week in Bordeaux. So it's this should be kind of cliffhanger to come to Bordeaux next week, and we will have some breaking news also about the continuation of the activities next week in Bordeaux. Some lessons learned from this small city of Helmond. The first is it's a very what if the pilot is successful? And this sounds maybe a bit like forcing an open door, but what we did from the very beginning when starting the pilot is we asked ourselves, what will we do if the pilot is successful? And sometimes this question is forgotten. It's not only about writing deliverables for the European Commission, it's really about what you want to do with the results and what you want to do with the services. The second one is maybe even more obvious, but CITS is not for free, and in some countries and some cities, even in the Netherlands, politicians sometimes have the idea we do not have to invest in a new infrastructure anymore, so it's all for free mobility solution. Well, this is not true. It's a shift from investment in new roads to investment in systems, software, maintenance and people. But it's important to realize this. I think, and I think this has been confirmed by RU as well, for professional use, there seems to be a business case. If you could save 13% on fuel savings, there could be a business case. But of course, there's a large deployment base of cities required, not only when it's in the city of Helmond. I realize this. The business case for cities, road authorities, could be more difficult because we have to, well, assuming we have to invest in the roadside unit, it's a bit more expensive. But smart procurement could help. What we've seen in the Vrede project is 50% of the cost is installation work. If you're already investing in new traffic lights already equipped with these kind of roadside units, it will make a large difference. There are some deployment issues from our point of view. First of all, every city think they are different and we all want tailor-made solutions, but at the same time we want standardized and interoperable solutions. That might be some difficulties. From a technology point of view, there's some discussions going on. What will be the technology we have to invest in? Will it be Wi-Fi or will it be LTE? And this is of course for cities, especially with the current financial constraints. It's a very important question that we do know that we're investing in the right technology. And on the other hand, the benefits of CITS are still a bit unclear. For some cities, it's also about the image of ITS. We are working towards more sustainable modes of transport, and for ITS it still has the image, it's very much car oriented. I don't think it's fully true, but at least the images, it's very much promoting the cars into the cities. A real deployment issue is before deploying we need economies of scale, and we do need economies of scale for deploying. So this is a bit of a chicken and egg situation. We need upscaling, but we do not know if the market is ready yet from a city perspective. We are quite uncertain who will be the service provider, for example, and are there enough market players at this moment, or is there a risk of vendor lock-in? But of course there are also opportunities, at least from our point of view. First of all, what we've seen in Compass4D, there's a large interest from public authorities for these kind of systems. It's not only the 7 pilot cities in Compass4D, but also other associate parts like cities like Barcelona, Tampere, Amsterdam, who are very much interested in this kind of systems and services. And this makes sense because there's a huge potential contribution of ITS deployment to policy goals on more sustainable modes of transport, but also towards more road safety. What I see as a possible solutions towards the question of uncertainty about technology could be to have traffic management and also CITS as a service, not longer investment by a city in traffic lights and systems, but you could also have this as a kind of service and leave it to the market to decide which technology will be the best. From Helmond's point of view, we really believe in a step-by-step and pragmatic approach. Only deploy these kind of systems that are really beneficial for your needs in your city. We have seen really the benefits of day one application. For me, the day one application, it's energy efficient intersection, priority intersection, because it's already in use in many cases, but with other technology, for example, in public transport, getting priority intersection, emergency services, and we've seen there's a potential business case for it. I would really be in favor to have more focus in future projects and future developments in applications for road safety, for example, for vulnerable road users, but also things like intelligent speed adaptation. And ISA, in my opinion, makes sense because road safety is at a high priority at city level, but there's also a potential business case. We're now investing a lot of money in infrastructural measures, for example, in school environmental, in the 30-kilometer zones, to invest in infrastructural measures. So this could be also from a business case point of view a good investment. And last, I think CITS is a requirement to go to fully automated transport. And this is our roadmap in the Netherlands. Fully automated transport in cities, in our opinion, and not everybody agrees, but in our opinion, is not possible without CITS. For us, this is a assurement because then our investments in CITS will not become obsolete in next coming years. And as public authorities, we are all working with your money, with tax money, and I think it's our duty to spend this money as efficient as possible. Thank you very much. Hope to see you next week in Bordeaux, where we have some breaking news about Compass4D continuation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all the speakers. I don't know if any of you have questions. You are able to ask. If you raise your hand, we can give you the floor. I see one from Wolfgang Niebel.
Oh, okay. So, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I thought I have to type it in. Okay. One question about cost-benefit analysis, because we are dealing with that topic. Is there any procedure or a well-defined procedure for doing the cost-benefit analysis, which is comparable to the cost-benefit analysis of different CITS implementations? Or is it until now like every project did its own defined cost-benefit analysis procedure and they are not really comparable amongst each other and they are not comparable against infrastructure projects? What is your experience?
From our side, we are developing a cost-benefit analysis, as mentioned in my presentation. Absolutely right. I'm not an expert on this topic, so I could not answer you right now what our colleagues who are leading this activity doing. But yes, I mean, generally we do have the discussions about how do we make our results comparable to other CITS, either ITS and other solutions comparable. What I know is that I do not know exactly which methodology we use, but I know for sure that we are comparing the costs and benefits of, for example, energy efficient intersection system for buses and emergency vehicles. We are comparing the benefits and costs compared to the already existing solutions that are on the market. In some cases, they've been existing for 20 years for public transport priority. So the cost is very, very much different between the proprietary system already mature and those that we are developing right now. On the other side, we bring a lot of additional benefits because we are talking about, for the first time, standardized equipment that can serve multiple stakeholders and multiple vehicles. So yes, we are doing this, but on methodology itself, I will need to come back to you on this one.
We would like to remind you that there will be another webinar on 28th of October about sustainable urban logistics. And we would like to ask you to take part in this questionnaire on CITS. You can see the link on the screen, but it will also be available on the Viajeo Plus website. Once again, apologies for the technical problems and thank you very much for participating in this webinar.